Hello, everyone. Thanks so much for joining me here today as we get to talk about one of my favorite subjects, comic books. My name is Jose. I love comic books. I love talking about them. I love sharing them with you. Feel free to follow me on social media if you would like. Links are in the description below. I've also posted a link to the Marvel fan site that I have plot synopsis and character bios. So, I have actually not recorded a video in quite a bit because I was so far ahead. I decided to take some time off. So I am a little bit rusty, so I do apologize for that. Today we are going to be looking at Uncanny X-Men 148 from 1981. I have a playlist. I started with Giant Size X-Men #1 in the form of Classic X-Men. Classic X-Men is how I have all of these early adventures. Although as an adult, I've got trying to go back and get them. So I started with the X-Men um during the not Follow the Mutants, the Mutant Massacre. That was actually my starting point into X-Men. So the end of John Romita Jr.'s. I ended up going back, and when I was a kid, I had every issue from 199 and then all the way till the end of Chris Claremont's run. But funny enough, I don't have the first Gambit because I hated the art and I was like, what the heck? So I never bought it. Who knew? Anyway, but I've gone back and bought a lot of fill-ins. So I just wanted to just cover. I know there's a lot of channels out there that cover the X-Men. So the Dazzler returns, and we've got this cover by Dave Cockrum. Speaking of Classic X-Men 52 was the reprint of this story, and I think it's a better cover. Steve Lytle, rest in peace. Beautiful cover here. We got Caliban, Spider-Woman, and of course, Kitty Pryde. Now, one of the things that I've been trying to do in that playlist is cover everything in reading order. So, you're gonna see everything as it should be read. So, it's one of the cool things. Not a lot of channels. There's a channel that I particularly enjoy, and he covers a lot of X-Men. Comics Bazaar. He uses the original issues and shows them similar to the way cartoonists kayfabe. Give him a follow if you've never heard of him. I actually enjoy his content. He's I think he is Irish, if I remember from listening to him. The only thing is, although he has a lot of stuff, he's had that channel for years, so he's covered a lot of stuff. He doesn't do things in order. He just kind of skips around, so you gotta really search. In my playlist, I'm trying to make things easy, so I've got everything in order, and I do X-Men every single day along with another video. So I do a video covering something and then X-Men every single day. So my plan is to get through the entire first run of Chris Claremont, but also to include New Mutants and X Factor and Excalibur all in the order. So we're gonna be covering stuff like the first 4 issues of Marvel Age, Avengers Annual 10. So hope you're liking this. So we're gonna start off where we left off, and we got Cyclops with Lee Forrester here in that mysterious island that they were marooned. And like I said, I have a playlist. So Lee says, "I don't believe this. I don't want to believe it. Yesterday this island wasn't here. It didn't exist. And this city," she says. So And so Cyclops says, anything is an improvement from that sandpit we came from. At least we might find some food and water. You mentioned a city, Lee. What does it look like? Real quick, in case you don't feel like um, going back and listening to the older videos. Cyclops is covering his eyes because he doesn't have his visor. He doesn't want to kill anyone. So, of course, this is a good rendition. By the way, I skipped over the credits here. Chris Claremont writes, Dave Cockrum and Joseph Rubinstein are the penciler and inker. And so Lee says, to be honest, Scott, I'm not quite sure I can describe it. Whatever it is, wherever it came from, it's old. It's been underwater for a long time. Watch your step. These marble stairs are coated with seaweed. They're slippery. One of the things is that showing the comic books is fine. I prefer digital. I just don't want to set up a thing, try to pull all these issues, and then, do it. Those that do it that way, hey, kudos. I prefer to show them digital. I have all these issues in Classic X-Men. I have the oh my gosh, they just started releasing these a few years ago. The oh my goodness gracious, Epic collections. I have a couple of these in just different random trade paperbacks. Um, Cyclops continues. Are we in shadow? Suddenly it feels cold. And Lee says it's partly that, but this city has such an alien feel to it. It gives me the willies, she says. And so Lee continues. We reach the level ground, some kind of boulevard. The statuary all relates to the sea. This could be a ceremonial gateway. Are you okay, Scott? You've tensed up. And Cyclops says here, sorry, I'm having a hard time dealing with being being led around blindfolded as I am. I feel so helpless. And Lee says, to each cloud its silver lining. At least you've spared the sight of the shocking state of our wardrobe. And he says, what wardrobe? Asks Cyclops, and she says, exactly. So, all right. So, I always put the double page spreads like that. It's just easier to have them both condensed here. So, all right. And so we're going to get a recap here of his why he doesn't have his optic blast and stuff. So, it's been 2 days, he thinks, since Lee learned of my optic blasts, yet she hasn't questioned me about them. Why? Does she expect me to make the first move? Well, a good gentleman should. How can I tell her about Cyclops without involving the other X-Men? I trust her with my secret. So Lee out loud says, no food, no water, no clothes, no people, but we've shelter in abundance. So the two begin to kiss here. Care to take advantage of it? And Cyclops is like, And then he's like, Lee, don't, please. And she's like, what's wrong? Is it Jean? And of course now he says, her name was Jean Grey. We were in love. She died. I like you, Lee. I care for you. Too much, but it's too soon. I don't want to get involved again, she says. So, I'm not asking for an involvement, she yells and snaps at him. I know how you feel, Scott. I know about grief and loss. We buried my father 2 months ago, remember? But I'm cold and hungry and scared. I need a little human warmth and compassion and companionship. If that's more than you can give, then to blazes with you. And she leaves them. He's like, Lee? And he's, that's actually quite funny. That's a perfect panel here. All right. And so Cyclops is like, brilliant. I'm alone and deservedly so. When I put my mind to it, I can be a real creep. I never had this problem with Jean. But then she was a telepath. She could read my thoughts, sense what I really meant. I'm not used to dealing with people outside the unique high pressure environment of the X-Men. That's partly why I took the sabbatical to learn. And he trips. My foot, I'm falling. And oh, that would hurt. I hit hard, but nothing seems broken. It's this blindfold. I don't know where I am or where I'm going, who or what is around me. The irony is, I can see perfectly. All I have to do is open my eyes. He can't see perfectly, he'd see everything in red. So then, of course, he does it and shoots his eye beams. And then he's like, what am I doing? I could have smashed anything, killed anyone in my line of sight. Without my special ruby quartz glasses, the only thing I can contain these beams is by keeping my eyes shut. The condition is incurable. I can never relax my guard or make a careless move. I can never lead a normal life. But will wallowing in self-pity change that or make things better? No, he says. That sounds of footsteps, Lee. Hi, I'm sorry, Scott. I shouldn't have run out on you. I guess we both needed to blow off a little steam, she says. I'm sorry, too. I didn't mean to slap you down. I'm afraid of taking another risk of being heard. And she says, life is a risk all the way down the line. I'm glad you came back. I need you. And she's like, we need each other. Great screen tones here by Rubinstein. I love the fact that this was left white. And then they only put the screen tones on what would have been flesh here. So, or the center to create some shade. So, all right. So now we're in Professor X's mansion here. And Wolverine's going out. And Nightcrawler's following Wolverine here. So, oh, sorry. Wolverine is trying to find Nightcrawler. So, Nightcrawler thinks here, Wolverine's following my trail. I went deep into the woods before doubling back by teleporting into this tree with the breeze blowing from behind me. Wolverine shouldn't be able to pick up my scent. Oops, I may have spoken too soon. He stopped. Unbelievable, which I think is what this unglaublich. He disappeared, but where did he go? So he teleports and he appears and Wolverine goes, surprise, sucker. And he goes, Wolver, oof, as he kind of tags him and he takes his, game's over, elf, you lose. And so Wolverine don't, but of course he aims right next to him. I don't know if I would have had him pop in the claws. He's a buddy. So again, I love the screen tones. It's a lost art. Nobody hardly does screen tones anymore. So I'm going to do my daily Dave Cockrum rant. Dave Cockrum is a fine penciler. Very good. The problem is, coming after John Byrne, it does seem like a step back. He's no John Byrne. No offense to him, but very few people are. John Byrne is a master storyteller. So Wolverine says, shucks, I missed. Scared you, didn't I? Serves you right, Kurt, after making a dumb butt move like that. And he says, Nightcrawler says, I should have stayed in the trees. No fooling, says Wolverine. Your disappearance rattled me. How'd you do that, Logan? I never took my eyes off you. And Wolverine says, it's an old ninja trick, standing in plain sight without being seen. I learned in Japan. You know, Elf, I really enjoy these improvised training sessions. A heck of a lot more than our workouts in the danger room, especially since the loser buys the beer. How many cases do you owe me now anyway? Says Wolverine. So, and Storm's looking outside. And why is everyone in costume here? And Storm looks out and says, thunderclouds, but the sky was clear a moment ago. My subconscious is manifesting my anger, though my ability to control the weather. I haven't been so careless with my mutant power since I was a child. This argument with Angel has upset me more than I realized. And so Angel's saying, Professor Wolverine is dangerous. And Storm finally steps in and says, "Therefore, Angel, we should abandon him." Storm, he's a born killer. When he faced Doctor Doom's robot version of you, he destroyed it without an instant's hesitation. Maybe his enhanced senses told him it was a robot, but it would have made any difference if he'd faced a woman disguised as you. I I So we continue here. Now, part of the thing is they had to write Angel off. I think they were gonna do the Defenders, the new Defenders with Iceman and the Beast down in the West Coast. So I think Angel was going to be in that team, so Claremont had to write him out. So he says, "I think not, and it scares me. Professor, you're the world's greatest authority on mutants. You founded the X-Men. You know us probably better than we know ourselves. I'd like to assume you have a logical reason for keeping that little psychopath around. I've tried to relate to him, work with him, but the more I know him, the antsier I get, Professor. Storm, I'm at the point where I'm not sure I want to belong to any outfit that has Wolverine as a member." So off goes the Angel, and he is done. This is our last issue with Angel. He does eventually make an appearance, but for the most part, no more Angel in the X-Men until Will Sportacio when he takes over and brings him in as Archangel. So Storm says, "Does that include the human race? I too abhor Wolverine's violent nature, but he is not an X-Man because of his perfect, sterling character. It is because of his potential for good. Our duty as X-Men is to help him achieve that potential. To deny Wolverine would be to deny our true reasons for being. Why does Angel not understand that?" You think she would have said that while Angel was still there, but looks like Angel just took off without listening to anybody. And so Professor X says, "He does, Storm, but he wonders if that goal is worth the cost. I must confess, occasionally, so do I." So, all right, so we got Banshee fixing the Blackbird, and he says, "Lift up the engine, will ya, Peter?" "Of course, Sean." And then, of course, we have Illyana here, Peter's Colossus's sister here. And so the captions here just say that Banshee's been hurt. Basically, he's retired because his powers aren't working. So, "Gently does it, lad," says Banshee. "All right, Peter, set her down." And in Russian, Ilyana's like, "Oh, Pyotr Nikolaevich, will I be able to turn into steel when I am grown up?" And there's peeking in Russian here. "I do not know, Ilyana. Do you want to? I think I would look funny." And Banshee goes, "What's she saying, Peter?" And she says, I love the expression because he teleports, and we've established that he stinks when he teleports. So Colossus says she wonders if she is a mutant. Professor Xavier contacted her parents to tell them she is safe. Perhaps before she returns to Russia, he should examine her. And Nightcrawler teleports. Banshee continues. "You sound sad, son. Do you miss your home?" "Oh, hello, Kurt. What brings you here?" "The professor wants to see you in the mansion, Sean." And then he teleports out. "Tell him I'll be along directly as soon as I've tidied up." And so off we go. He looks a little long here, the torso portion of it, but and so we have here Banshee. Hopefully he took a shower before he changed his clothes. "Charles, I beg your pardon, miss. I was looking for Professor Xavier. I'm Sean Cassidy. Can I help you?" And she says, "I'm Teresa Rourke. Your cousin Tom asked me to give ye this. It'll explain who I am and why I'm here." Of course, they're referring to Black Tom Cassidy. So, Teresa, do you know what this says? "I do, Father." So this would be Siren. is who this is. So he is it just says here, and if you followed my classic X-Men, you'll see that there was a backstory. And Banshee's wife died. So um he never knew that he had a daughter, which makes me wonder why. Well, I guess it says in there he was in the service, so I don't know whether Black Tom took her away or not. But um, anyway, Spider Woman is here too, and it says here that they met in Spider Woman number 38. I think Chris Claremont was writing. So Claremont was also writing Captain Marvel, which ended up being canceled, and so we had the first appearance of Rogue in the Avengers annual. So, all right, um, Moira's kind of leaving. Of course, Banshee and Moira McTaggart are an item, and Storm goes, Moira. And Spider Woman says, Dr. McTaggart, is anything the matter? No, Spider Woman, I'm fine. I'm just stepping out for a breath of air. Why is everyone in freaking costume? So, of course, Moira, we'll just kind of give you the 411 here rather than read all that. She basically sees Teresa as a rival because that's somebody else that she has to compete with. Love. Storm understands. She feels the same way with Stevie Hunter and Kitty. Moira says Teresa represents a child which he cannot give to Banshee. Now, it's kind of funny if you've been reading the current run of X-Men and everything that's happened with Moira and her 10 lives. This kind of just looks weird, right? Because all of a sudden Moira's like, I don't know. But do you guys like the current run of X-Men? I gave it a try because of Jonathan Hickman, but I don't know. But they're relaunching it again in August, so by the time you read this, I don't know when, or by the time you hear this, I don't know when it'll be. But it's late June when I'm recording this. Anyway, Storm says, we'll survive, Moira, whatever happens. And she goes, will we? I hope so. So, and again, she was talking about Proteus, who's the one child. And so, from the tunnels, we know who eventually this will be. You know, the Morlocks are there. And this is Caliban. This is Caliban's first appearance here. So we're down they're down in the tunnels of Manhattan. Caliban, he says he senses people, but none are nearby. Caliban must be careful, though. They will chase him if they see him. They will try to kill him. Caliban fears, but Caliban is so lonely. He senses his own kind so near, so strong. There, in that building, Caliban will find them, and they will be his friends forever. And so we've got Kitty Pryde, Storm, Stevie Hunter, and of course Spider Woman. Now, I love this. If you can see here, he went over the line and they never erased it. So they're at a club here. So Spider Woman says, this place certainly lives up to the reputation. I've certainly seen nothing like it in San Francisco, but then I've only recently settled down there. Thank you for inviting me, Ororo. It's our pleasure, Jessica, says Storm. And Kitty says, Miss Drew, are you really a private investigator? What kind of cases do you investigate? Do you carry a gun? She asks. And Storm says, Kitten, calm down. You're pushing. There is a fine line between youth exuberance and rudeness. I just crossed it, huh? And Stevie says, you're close, kiddo. I don't know why. I mean, she's just asking questions, but that's all right. And so Caliban's walking. He's like, humans! And these two guards see him, and they're like, what in the blazes? What is that? And so the guards are scared, and they pull out their gun. Hold it, mister. One more step, and we'll fire. I'm warning you. So what his power is, he takes emotions and converts them into physical strength. So instead of like kinetic energy, he just takes people's emotions. So Caliban hurt those humans. He did not mean to. Their emotions were too strong. Caliban could not control them. Caliban senses his people above him. He must go to them and explain. They will understand. But of course, we know they won't. And so they continue to talk here, but um, Kitty hushes them. Here comes Dazzler, and she begins to sing. Now, at this moment in time, they don't know Dazzler is a mutant, but they will. And what she does is she takes sound and transforms it into light. So, Dazzler's first appearance was X-Men 130, which I do not have, and I was actually going to purchase it. But then rumors started circling that Taylor Swift may be the Dazzler in the Wolverine Deadpool movie, and that book just became too red hot. So I'm waiting for things to calm down before I go to try, because it was at 250 and it was under $100 just a week before. So I'm like, no, I'm gonna wait. So eventually people will calm down. So all right, here comes Caliban. Everybody gets scared, and Spider-Woman says, "Ororo screams, something's happening at the other end of the club." Um, and Kitty goes, "I'll check it out." And Storm goes, "Kitty, no." And she's like, "You guys stay here and enjoy the show." And you can see her uh, turn into get her costume on, and she goes down. And of course, she has the ability to go through walls, but she's falling down. But then she remembers that she can kind of float, so she starts to float back up here. So I love Storm. If I get my hands on that child, I'll wring her neck. How dare she pull a stunt like this? And so Spider Woman's like, "Ororo, the commotions sounds like it's getting worse." And of course, Dazzler is like, something's up, and she notices Kitty is disappears. So she's gonna make a distraction. So she's gonna even amp up the light show, and of course, Storm and Spider Woman go and also change into their costume. And of course, she walks through, and there's Caliban here, and he shows, and just like he grabs her, and she's like, "Let go of my arm," and he says, "You are like Caliban. You will come with him, stay with him, be his friend." And she's like, "The heck I will." "Storm, Spider Woman." Storm says, "Don't despair, Sprite. You'll be safe in a moment." And she uses her lightning. So this is obviously before the name changed to Shadowcat. So Storm says, well, Storm or Spider Woman? I think Spider Woman. "Release the child, Caliban, then we'll talk." "Unhowl the child, villain, or suffer the consequences," says Storm. "No, you are like Caliban. He, the same, yet you threaten him, attack him." So, the sprite child is Caliban's. You will not take her. So, and you can see he attacks them with force. I'm still not very sure of how Caliban's powers work. So, in X Factor, they try to make him a horseman of apocalypse, and even then, I was like, yeah, no. So, Spider Woman says, "Storm's unhurt. That table merely knocked the wind out of her." Okay, so that was a table. I wasn't quite sure because of the color. So long as Caliban holds Kitty, I daren't unleash a full power venom blast. The bioelectric energy bolts might kill her. Strong as Caliban seems to be. I haven't read these issues in freaking forever. So as I go along with them, I'm reading them again for the first time in years here. So I've no alternative but to wade in and to match him punch for punch. So off she goes. Vertical panel here. I probably wouldn't have done a vertical panel here to allow it. Probably would have done a long panel here. But this one is a nice one, and then she goes out through. So And so now Caliban is going to try and escape, and he takes Kitty with her. And so Dazzler says the crowd's freaking out, surging toward the elevator. Storms can't hold them back. The doors are jammed open. If things aren't cooled down fast, people are going to be killed. So my band split with everyone else, but I can get the music I need from the club's master sound system. And basically, she's going to dazzle them. And so everyone kind of stops, and you can see they're kind of like mesmerized. So Storm goes down the elevator chute. And so here comes Spider-Woman back up and goes, Stevie, where's Caliban? And she says, he went down the elevator. So she goes back down then. And here comes Caliban, but Spider-Woman hits him. She's like, end of the line, ugly. And he goes, leave Caliban be. He means no harm. He is like you. Why do you hurt him? Like me. What the devil is he talking about? He dropped Kitty. Now I can try to stun him with a venom blast. You're stealing a child, Caliban. Taking her against her will. You've no right to do that. Caliban is tired of living alone. What about the Morlocks? There's like a crap load. All he wants is a friend, one to talk to care for. Is that too much to ask? And so you can see him grabbing this thing. Since birth, Caliban was hated because he was different, because of his hideous appearance. His father named him for a monster. He's no monster. He's a human being. And so you see Storm yell, stop, and you can see her lightning bolt there. And so as the lightning bolt hits him, Caliban goes, no more, please, no more. And Kitty's upset because she feels like some X-Men I must have fainted. So, of course, now we see Caliban without the mask he was wearing. And Spider-Woman says, Storm, look after Sprite. God, Lee, Shadowcat is so much cooler. I'll hand her Caliban. And Caliban says, will you kill Caliban? And she goes, no, that was never our intent. You're a mutant, aren't you, Caliban? That's what you meant when you said we were the same. And Caliban says, Caliban does not understand your words. He felt your presence in his mind, in his heart, like a great shining light. It drew him out of his underworld home. He could not help himself. Caliban did not wish to cause any harm. He thought he was unique. When he sensed others like him, he thought of returning to the underworld, of living forever alone. Became unbearable. Caliban is sorry. And Storm says, as are we, Caliban. Caliban, we are of one kind, as mutants. Come with us. We can offer you a true home, safety, friendship. We have all acted hastily tonight, but there is still time to begin afresh. What's that? Sirens heading this way. Probably the police. Our Rolls Royce is parked nearby. I'll summon a fog to cover us while we sneak Caliban. And Spider-Woman says, never mind, Storm. He's gone his own way. He chose to return to his underground to live once more in the darkness alone. That's actually kind of sad. So our heroes kind of end up drinking with Dazzler here. Looks like Kitty's has a cigarette. It is not. It's just the ink he was trying to create, as you can see here. But the way he put it in there, it does look like she's smoking a cigarette. So we go back to the island here, and our two heroes, are talking here. Scott says, this island is extraordinary, as you say, Lee. Someone should fly out to take a look at it. And Lee says, anything's possible, Scott, but I'd feel a lot more optimistic on a full stomach. Well, I could try using my optics blast to stun some fish. Remember last attempt, you pulverized the poor deers. And someone out the panel says, of course we know who it is, but I thought my island was deserted. How pleasant to discover that I was mistaken. Of course, Cyclops recognizes the voice, and he goes, it can't be. Oh man, are we glad to see you, says Lee. Lee, whatever you do, don't mention my name. If he hears that, if he suspects me, if he heard me refer to my optic blast, If he even suspects who I truly am, we're both as good as dead. And so we're going to get our reveal. I am Magneto. Or Magneto. Really, it should be Magneto. It's a magnet. Magnet. Oh, Magneto. But we'll call him Magneto because that's what everybody says. But really should be Magneto. I bid you welcome to my new home. Though your arrival was unanticipated, I shall do all I can to ensure that your stay is as pleasant as possible. And we actually get a really good pose. And the dead shall bury the living is the conclusion. So, Uncanny X-Men 148. Chris Claremont, Dave Cockrum, and Joseph Rubinstein. Like and subscribe. I do thank you for listening. Goodbye.